Hi guys, tonight we'll walk barefoot through the soft crumbling stone of the Maya world. You'll hear no battle cries, no horns of warning, only the rustle of leaves as they reclaim cities once filled with voices. We're going to Copán, to Palenque, to Tikal, but not in their glory. We're arriving at the end, when the temples are still warm with prayer but already losing light, when rain forgets to fall, when the gods grow silent, and people begin to slip away one by one. If you lived back then, you'd be tired. Tired of praying, of waiting for harvests that never came. You'd feel the dryness in your bones. You'd walk away too. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy these quiet dives into the strange fading corners of the past. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Is it night? Are your lights low? Your blanket warm? Now dim the lights, lower the fan, let your limbs grow heavy and your thoughts slow. Tonight, you're not in your room, you're in the jungle. The vines are thick, and history is whispering beneath your feet. Let's begin. Section 1. Waking in Copán, you open your eyes to the sound of dripping water. Somewhere above, a thatched roof is leaking again. The drip lands rhythmically beside your head, not enough to wake you, but enough to remind you that yes, this is still your house. This is still Copán, and this is still the year 824. The dawn is gray and sticky. Humid air clings to your skin before you even rise from your woven mat. Your bones feel the hardness of the packed dirt beneath you. The stone walls of your family's small home sweat with the morning's heat. The scent is familiar, damp wood, roasted corn from last night's embers, and just beneath it, the bitter smell of ash. Outside, the jungle never really sleeps. Birds call from high in the canopy. Somewhere, a howler monkey lets out a deep, rattling cry, like a spirit coughing. You hear your younger sister shifting in the dark, her breath wheezing softly. She's been sick for weeks now, and no one knows what to do. Your mother says it's the wind, your grandmother says it's punishment. But everyone agrees something is wrong in Copán. You sit up slowly, letting your eyes adjust. The sky is pale, almost colorless. No sign of the heavy rains that should have come weeks ago. The rainy season was always reliable before. Now it's just late or gone. You walk outside. The stone path beneath your feet is cracked and uneven. Moss once grew here, thick and green, but now it's yellow and dry. Your city stretches before you, temples with intricate carvings, plazas still echoing with yesterday's quiet festival. The pyramids loom like sleeping giants, beautiful but tired. You pass the carving wall where your uncle works. He's been sculpting the same scene for weeks, a line of kings, one after another, all taller than life. But lately, he doesn't carve as much. The limestone is brittle now. It crumbles more than it holds. The elders still say Copán is blessed. They speak of the river that bends like a serpent, through the city, of the temples that touch the sky, of the great kings who built this place with blood and stone. But you've noticed how the river runs thinner each week, how the fields grow patchy, how even the birds have stopped nesting in the same trees. The market is quieter than usual. Fewer vendors, fewer voices. The tortilla makers don't call out as loudly. Even the dogs, skinny and alert, slink in silence. People avoid eye contact. Everyone looks tired. You stop by a well. The water's lower again. The rope squeaks as you lower the bucket. Someone behind you whispers that this is the gods' warning, a punishment for some forgotten mistake. But they don't say it loudly. No one dares to name the gods' anger out loud. You carry water back past a courtyard where children used to play. The game courts are empty now. No ball games, no songs. Just dust. Even the laughter is gone. When you return home, your father is praying. His voice is low, nearly a murmur. He holds a jade figurine in one hand, an offering for the gods of rain. Your mother places a bowl of burnt incense near the doorway. Smoke curls lazily upward, tracing invisible patterns on the air. That's how mornings begin now, with prayers, with silence, with the growing sense that something ancient and vast is turning away from you. Not all at once, but day by day. In your dreams, you used to see Copán full of light, crowded festivals, painted faces, music like thunder. Now even in your sleep, the city feels quieter. as though it's trying to disappear without anyone noticing. You lie back down for a moment, resting your head against the edge of the wall. The stone is warm. The world hums softly with bugs and breeze. You think of the old stories of how the first king of Copán came from the east guided by stars, how the gods spoke through the blood of kings. But now the stars feel distant, and the gods, if they still speak, have grown quiet. The jungle presses in. The vines stretch closer each season. Trees grow in places they shouldn't. Roots crack through walls. Nature is waiting not with rage but with patience, as if it already knows what's coming. You close your eyes again, just for a moment. In the distance, a bird calls, once, then falls silent. And Copán, beautiful heavy Copán, breathes slowly beneath you. Still alive, but not for long. Section 2. A city in stone and smoke. The city of Copán wasn't just built, it was conjured. Carved from limestone and willpower, it stood like a poem written in stone, surrounded by thick jungle walls. Every path was aligned with the stars. Every temple whispered the names of kings. You walk through the central plaza, your feet brushing against carved glyphs that stretch across the stones like vines of meaning. Each symbol tells a story of gods, born from turtles, of ancestors reborn through sacrifice of rulers who bled for the rain. These weren't just buildings. They were prayers turned into pyramids. To live here was to live inside a calendar. The sun told you when to plant the moon, when to pray. And Venus told you when war would come. The city was a living machine of time, and every festival was a gear that kept it turning. Smoke rises from a distant altar, not firewood that's too precious now, but crushed resin and dried leaves burning slow. A priest stands nearby, motionless, arms raised to the sky. His body is draped in jaguar pelts, but even he looks thinner than before. The sacrifices have grown more frequent and more desperate. You pass murals of maize gods dancing beside feathered serpents. Their colors are fading. The reds aren't as bright, the blues chipped and weathered. Rain has washed some of them away, or maybe they've simply begun to fade like memories too often retold. Nearby artisans chip away at masks and statues. They still work, but without the usual singing. No flute players this morning, no idle gossip, just the hollow sound of stone meeting stone. At the heart of the city stands the hieroglyphic stairway, a towering flight of 63 steps, each carved with dense histories. It's a monument to time itself, stretching back through 400 years of rulers. But most people don't climb it anymore. Not since the steps began to crack. Some say it's just erosion. Others say it's a sign the timeline itself is breaking. A group of scribes sit in the shade painting codices on fig bark. Their brushes are fine, made of squirrel hair, and the ink is thick and red, not always just from plants. These books are sacred, but they're not copied as often now. People don't need more history. They need answers. You make your way toward the temple quarter, where nobles live behind tall walls, their courtyards still full of flowers, or what's left of them. Bougainvillea, once bursting with color, now droops like tired hands. A few noble women stand beneath an awning, whispering. They glance at the sky every few seconds as if watching for rain that refuses to come. Above it all, Temple 16 casts its shadow across the plaza. It was once the heart of ritual life, a stairway to the gods. Now vines creep up its sides, not fast, just steady. The jungle doesn't rush, it waits. You pass a statue of the king, Uaxtlaklejun Ub Kiawil, 18 Rabbit. He was once called the greatest builder of Copán. His likeness shows a proud face, feathered headdress, towering hands grasping a ceremonial axe. But the real man, he was captured, humiliated, and sacrificed by a rival city. His death marked the start of something Copán never recovered from. Now no one speaks his name aloud. The people still worship, still hold ceremonies. But it's different. Fewer dancers, shorter chants, more blood. It's as though the city is trying to bribe the gods into remembering them. But the gods don't barter. They take what they will. You stop to rest beside a stela, one of the tall stone markers that once broadcast power across the plaza. It's tilted now, leaning like a tired elder. The glyphs on it tell of war victories and noble births, but they don't mention droughts or failed crops. History, after all, is written by those who want to be remembered, not by those afraid of vanishing. Children run by barefoot and silent. Their faces are thin. One of them wears a necklace made from broken beads, a toy, or maybe a charm, maybe both. They vanish into a side alley where laughter used to echo. Now, even sound seems to hesitate. The air smells of smoke and old sweat. You breathe it in as if trying to remember the city before it began to crumble. The streets, the carvings, the temples, they're still here. But something beneath them has shifted, as if the ground knows what's coming. And yet, the city continues. People rise pray work. They go to market. They whisper warnings. They climb the temples. But none of them say aloud what they all feel. That this place, as sacred as it is, might be dying. And not because of war, not because of invaders, but because it grew too large, because the forest gave too much, because the rain forgot. You look around once more at the stone, and smoke at the shadows of greatness still standing in wonder. How does a city say goodbye? Section 3. When rain stopped singing. The rain was always music. That's what your grandmother said. A symphony on the leaves, a lullaby on the rooftops. A promise murmured into every seed the farmers planted. But one year, the music changed. The sky grew stingy, the clouds passed without stopping, and the rain, once a friend, stopped singing. You remember the first dry season that didn't end? At first, people just adjusted. They planted deeper, dug new ditches, prayed louder. The elders said it had happened before, that the gods sometimes tested patience. But patience has a price, and the price was rising. You walk past a field that once grew maize. Now it's a patchwork of pale soil and abandoned tools. The furrows are cracked like dry skin. Birds no longer visit. Even the ants have moved on. Your cousin used to joke about the fields growing dust. It's not a joke anymore. At the edge of the city, the Aguada's shallow pools that used to store rain are bone dry. The limestone basins carved with care are filled only with leaves and silence. Children used to splash in them. Now they are told to stay away. There are snakes now. Hungry ones. Your uncle says the jungle is closing in. Trees are growing in patterns they shouldn't. Insects swarm at odd hours. Some days feel like dusk by mid-morning. Other days burn so hot that birds fall from the sky. Nothing behaves like it used to. In the market, traders argue over water. Not buckets, cups. One woman brings gourds of it hidden under her shawl, selling each sip for beads and beans. Another offers clay jars filled from a distant spring, swearing it's pure. No one believes her, but they buy anyway. You pass a small shrine tucked between two houses. It's newer, hastily built. Not for the old gods, but for something unnamed. People leave offerings, feathers, bits of cloth, even teeth. Anything that might buy rain. Superstition is rising. Where prayers fail, fear fills the gap. One man tells a story of a jaguar that walked through the city at night. Not a real one, a spirit. Its eyes burned green, and wherever it stepped, the ground cracked. He says it was a warning. He says it stared at his house for an hour. No one asks if that part's true. Truth doesn't matter anymore. Only fear. Even the priests are changing. Once draped in color and calm, they now wear darker robes. Their faces are painted not with flowers, but with lines that mimic tears. They speak in riddles. Their chants have grown longer and more bloody. The altars smell different now, less like incense, more like iron. You remember a night when the thunder finally came after months of silence. Everyone ran outside. People laughed, danced. Children screamed with joy. Some dropped to their knees, thanking the gods with tears on their faces. But it wasn't rain, just noise. The sky growled but never opened. The next morning the river was lower than ever. A farmer near the eastern gate set fire to his own fields, said it was better to burn the dead crops than watch them rot. The smoke blackened the horizon. Birds scattered. The ash drifted over the temple steps like soft gray snow. You hear someone say it again, the thing no one wants to believe: the gods are angry. But deep down, even that explanation feels thin. Because this doesn't feel like punishment. It feels like forgetting. Like the world is turning its face away slowly, and no one knows how to call it back. At the well, someone draws up sludge. They curse under their breath, then spit into the mud. You see the desperation in their eyes and the fear that their neighbors might be more desperate. There are stories of fights at the forest edge, of men attacking strangers who trespass on secret springs. One man returned with a broken arm and whispered that he saw a group digging deep pits into the earth or searching for water like it was buried treasure. You don't speak when you hear these things. You just listen, and you remember. You remember when the sky used to open wide and pour down enough water to drown the streets, when children ran barefoot through puddles, laughing, their skin shining like polished jade. When the scent of wet soil was a comfort, not a memory. Now even that memory feels brittle. You sit beneath a tree that was once sacred. It's still tall, still reaching for the sky, but its leaves are dull, its bark dry. A single bird perches on one of its branches, then flies off after a moment, as if even the trees are no longer worth visiting. You close your eyes and listen. No thunder, no wind, no music, just the crackling of dry leaves under your feet, the hiss of heat in the distance, and somewhere, far off, a baby crying. The rain hasn't come, and something tells you it might never come back. Section 4. Forests that breathed too fast. The Maya knew their forests. Every tree had a purpose. Every branch could be turned into medicine, firewood, pigment, or prayer. But a forest isn't just a tool, it's a lung. And lungs can collapse if they're overworked. You walk along the edge of Copán where the city used to meet the jungle. Used to. Now the trees are thinner. The soil is bare in places. The undergrowth doesn't hum with life like it once did. In some spots, it crunches under your feet, dry, brittle, lifeless. There was a time when the forest was your city's partner. It gave shade, water, food. It gave materials for temples, masks, and tools. But it also gave meaning. The Maya didn't build apart from nature. They built with it, around it, into it. But that balance broke. You reach a clearing where loggers once worked. Stumps scatter the ground like broken teeth. Piles of old branches lie abandoned, too dry to rot. The stone path here is faded, worn not just by feet, but by time, by the weight of too many burdens placed on the land. In the distance, smoke rises. Controlled burns, they say. But you know better. They burn because they have no choice. To clear land, to ward off pests, to try and revive soil that no longer listens. But fire doesn't just take the old, it scares away the new. A group of men walk past with empty baskets, not for food, for dirt. They carry it to raised beds, trying to coax life from compost and prayer. Some whisper that the earth is sick. Others say it's cursed. You remember when this forest echoed with howler monkeys, cicadas, and birds that flashed red and blue through the trees like falling stars. Now it's quiet, not silent, but still enough that you can hear your own breath. A scribe once told you that Copán's greatest monuments required thousands of trees to build, not just for scaffolding and torches, but for the lime plaster that made temples white and brilliant. Each bright wall cost acres of forest, each statue a grove. No one questioned it then. The gods wanted beauty. But beauty has a cost. You pass a ravine where a stream once ran clear and fast. Now it's a ditch. Frogs used to sing here. Today only flies buzz over a puddle the color of rust. You see children tossing pebbles into it, watching them sink slowly. They laugh, then stop. Even play feels heavier now. Your grandfather used to tell you the names of trees as if they were family ceiba, the world tree, copal, the incense wood, chico zapote, the gum tree. Now he doesn't remember all the names, because some of those trees are gone. Gone not in fire or flood, but slowly, tree by tree, year by year. You watch a group of workers digging a new foundation. For what, you're not sure. They've cut down 2 ceibas to make room. The wood lies in uneven chunks, oozing white sap. One of the workers touches the stump gently, like an apology, but apologies don't bring shade back. Further uphill, old terraces crumble. These were once brilliant feats of Maya engineering, carved platforms designed to catch water, hold crops, feed cities. But even genius can fail when the rain forgets and the soil gives up. You sit beneath a dying guava tree. Its fruit has stopped ripening. The leaves curl inwards like fists. A bird watches you from a branch, feathers puffed against the heat. You wonder how long it will stay. You wonder how long any of you will. Some say the jungle is punishing the people, that spirits have turned away. Others say it's simply nature taking back what was borrowed too long. You don't know which story is true. Maybe both are. Maybe neither. But you do know one thing. Forests can't breathe when you cut out their lungs, and your city, for all its brilliance, forgot to stop cutting. You recall a festival from years ago, drums pounding dancers in feathered headdresses, spinning beneath torchlight flutes, singing to the canopy. The firelight flickered on faces painted blue and black mouths chanting in time with the earth. That night, you believed the forest loved your people. Now the drums are gone, the headdresses stored away, the flutes quiet, and the forest, it's breathing slower, shallower, as if it's tired of singing songs for people who stopped listening. You rise and brush dust from your legs. In the far distance, clouds gather, not rain clouds, smoke again. Somewhere, someone else is burning more trees. The jungle used to stretch forever. Now, you can almost see where it ends. Section 5. Thirst of the Fields. The fields used to shimmer, not with water, but with promise. Young maize stalks reaching upward like prayerful hands, beans curling through them like dancers, squash spreading wide covering the soil like a cool green blanket. These were the three sisters, the holy trinity of Maya agriculture. They fed the people the gods and the memory of the land. Now they're ghosts. You step into one of the main fields just past the edge of Copán. Rows of raised planting beds still stretch before you, but they look skeletal. Stalks half-grown and sunburned lean to one side, their leaves curled tight against the heat. The ground beneath your feet is hard-cracked and powder-dry. It doesn't smell like earth. It smells like stone. A woman kneels near the edge of the field, whispering to a plant. Her hands are in the dirt, not digging, just pressing gently, like a comfort. Next to her lies a bowl of blood. Chicken probably, or maybe not. Sacrifices have become smaller, more personal, less ceremonial, more desperate. You remember the taste of fresh maize tamales wrapped in banana leaves? Soft, warm, sweet, with memory. Lately the maize is bitter, or moldy, or not there at all. Some families grind wild roots instead. It fills the belly, but not the spirit. Further down, a group of men are trying to dig a new canal. They sweat silently, their hands wrapped in clothbacks, bent like question marks. They dig where the water used to run, but digging doesn't make springs reappear, not when the earth itself has dried to the marrow. One of them, a farmer with white paint on his cheeks, stops and looks upward. Not at the sun, but at the clouds behind it, the ones that never open. He doesn't say anything. He just watches and then returns to digging. In the town square, someone has posted a clay tablet with strange glyphs. It's not official. It's not royal. It's a warning. It says, the gods have turned away. That unless people leave offerings now today, the fields will die completely. Someone has already placed an offering below it, a small jade bead and a single ear of blackened corn. The priests have begun calling for more sacrifices, larger ones. Not just blood, but lives. They say it's the only way to awaken the sky, that the gods are sleeping and only pain will stir them. You hear whispers that children have been taken, that certain families have offered their own. No one confirms it, no one denies it. You pass a young boy with a bundle of dried maize husks in his arms. He walks like someone twice his age. There's no play in his step, no light in his eyes. His feet are cracked from walking barefoot across hot stone. He doesn't look at you as he passes. Even the animals are leaving. Lizards that once darted between rows now bake on flat rocks. Birds circle the fields, but rarely land. The chickens look sickly. Dogs with ribs like ladders sniff through dust for anything soft enough to eat. You sit beneath a dead calabash tree and try to remember what this place smelled like. In spring, wet soil, flowering vines, new growth. Now it's just heat, a constant unkind heat that wraps around your skin and squeezes. Some people have tried planting near the temples. They say the gods will protect the soil there. A few small gardens have sprung up near the sacred stairs, but even those are wilting. The priests chant over them daily, their voices hoarse from repetition. Others have gone into the jungle, planting secret gardens by hidden streams. It's dangerous, not just because of animals or spirits, but because if you're caught hoarding water or seeds, you're banished. Or worse. One old man has taken to carving lines in the soil with a stick, not to plant, but to leave messages. Spirals, eyes, the glyph for lost. No one stops him. Maybe he knows something the rest have forgotten. Your cousin told you a story once about a boy who followed a firefly through a field at night and found a pool of clear water untouched and cool. He said the firefly was a spirit. You wanted to believe it, but then he added that the boy never came back. You reach down and pick up a dried corn cob. It crumbles in your hand. The kernels are hollow. You used to think that the fields would always be there, that no matter what maize would return. It was eternal, sacred, protected by gods with names older than stone. But now, even the gods seem hungry. You stand up and look across the rows of dying crops. You see more dirt than green, more silence than song. And in that silence, a question rises like heat. What happens to a people when their food, their faith stops growing? You don't know the answer, but the fields are thirsty, and no one's singing anymore. Section 6. Gods Need Blood. The gods were never cruel. That's what the elders said. They weren't greedy, they weren't unkind, but they were old, and old gods have old appetites. You sit near the edge of the main temple plaza, where a new altar has been erected, smaller than the traditional ones, but darker, dirtier. This one isn't polished or painted, it's stained. The stone has turned reddish black, and not from pigment. A priest is preparing a ritual. His robes are threadbare, his headdress missing feathers. He hums to himself in an unbroken rhythm, not a song, not quite a prayer, more like the sound of someone trying not to forget. Beside him, 2 boys hold bowls of flowers, ash, and animal bones. You think one of the bowls also contains a human tooth. No one speaks of it, but some children have gone missing, and the silence around their absence is heavier than any drumbeat. You remember when rituals were joyful, festivals full of color and breath, offerings of maize, beer, chocolate, and fragrant smoke, dances that made the ground feel alive. But now the offerings bleed. It started with small cuts, priests drawing blood from their ears, tongues, and arms. Sacred blood, they said, a language the gods could understand. But when the rains didn't return, the offerings changed. You hear the whisper before you see it. It wasn't enough. That's what people say. Not loudly, never during the day. But at night, around fire pits and empty tables, people talk. About the new rites, about the new shrines, about sacrifices that move. You turn your head and see a group of nobles watching the ritual from afar. Their faces are painted as tradition demands. Their jewelry is heavy with jade and obsidian. But their eyes are hollow. They no longer attend these ceremonies as leaders. They attend as witnesses, maybe even as warnings. The priest raises a flint blade. It glints in the afternoon light, a single flash like lightning trapped in stone. He chants. The crowd murmurs. A rooster is held up by the feet. Its wings beat once, twice, then stop. The sound of the blade slicing air is sharper than expected. Blood hits the stone with a hiss. The sun watches. You wonder if the gods are watching too. Later that evening, you find yourself near the temple steps again. A woman is scrubbing the altar with herbs and sand. Her hands are raw. She's not crying. She's humming the same note over and over like a mother soothing a child that doesn't exist anymore. A child passes by holding a small stone figure, the rain god Chak. The child dips the figure into a cracked bowl of water and lifts it to the sky, whispering please. One word. One hope. You used to believe in Chak. In the sky, serpents in the maize gods, in the cosmic crocodile that floated above the stars. Now you believe in silence, in thunder that doesn't bring rain, in gods who demand more than you have left to give. A rumor reaches you someone in a nearby village offered a girl to the cenote, pushed her into the sacred pool with bones tied to her feet. She never surfaced. A day later, it rained for 10 minutes, just long enough to soak the dust, just long enough to make people believe. You remember how people laughed when the priest said the gods wanted blood. They don't laugh anymore. The rituals grow louder, more frequent. Fires are kept burning longer. Drums pound into the night. People chant until their throats break. They think if they chant loud enough, they can wake the sky. But the sky is deaf. You visit the Temple of Scribes, where murals once told stories of hero twins and creation myths. Now a new image is being painted, a god with many arms and a mouth full of blades, no name, just hunger. The artist doesn't explain. He doesn't need to. You step outside as a procession passes. Men in animal masks, women with knives tied to their waists, children scattering petals. But the petals are wilting. They dry before they hit the ground. You sit and close your eyes. You think of how many times your people have bled for the gods, willingly, proudly. How many kings pierced their flesh to prove they were divine. But now the blood feels different. Not sacred, not symbolic, just scared. You open your eyes and look toward the hills. Somewhere out there people are leaving, whole families slipping away at dawn, not in rebellion, not in shame, just surrender. They no longer believe blood will save them. They no longer believe the gods care. Maybe the gods are gone. Maybe they were never there. Or maybe, and this is worse, maybe they're still watching. And they've decided that your prayers are boring now. The priest begins another chant. The knife is ready again. And in the crowd, no one turns away. Section 7. The priests whisper. They once stood tall, the priests of Copán, robes of jaguar pelt and quetzal feather, faces painted in sacred blues. Voices that echoed across the plazas, with chants known only to stars. They were bridges between the world of men and gods, walking symbols of order and balance. Now they whisper. You see them more often in corners than on platforms, bent over scrolls, murmuring beneath breath. Their staffs still gleam with obsidian, but their eyes flicker with something else, doubt. One morning you pass the temple of inscriptions. You expect chanting, incense, the low hum of ritual. But today, it's silent. A young acolyte kneels at the entrance, head bowed, drawing circles in the dust with a broken stylus. You step closer, and he flinches, not like someone surprised, but like someone ashamed of being seen. Inside, two elder priests argue in hushed tones. You only catch fragments. Not working. We are being watched. He doesn't dream anymore. Dreams. That used to be their secret power visions, sent by the gods, deciphered with bones and stars. But the dreams have stopped. Or they've changed, no longer filled with signs and prophecy. Now they speak of fire, of silence, of cities swallowed by trees. The high priest still performs the public rites. He stands with the same staff, speaks the same words. But his voice wavers now. His hands tremble. Sometimes he forgets which god he's invoking. Other times, he repeats names like he's trying to remember someone who no longer visits. A rumor spreads. One priest tried to burn his own codex. Said it lied. Said the gods had abandoned them long ago and everything written was false comfort. He was stopped. The codex saved. But the pages are singed, and no one's opened it since. In the marketplace, people begin seeking other answers. A woman sells small carved stones, said to come from a hidden shrine in the east, a place where gods still speak. A boy claims to have seen a deer with 3 eyes that vanished into a cave. Another man offers dreams brewed from crushed bark and beetle blood in exchange for maize. The priests do not speak out against these new beliefs. They simply lower their eyes. Perhaps they fear the people will stop listening. Perhaps they already have. You remember when your brother was chosen as a temple scribe? The pride in your family's eyes, the feast, the blessings. He used to speak of the gods as though they sat beside him. Now he avoids the subject. He writes in smaller letters. He reads in the dark. Some say the gods are silent because they are angry. Others say they never existed at all, that the priests made them up to control the people. But those who whisper that rarely say it twice. Because there's something more terrifying than angry gods. Useless priests. You walk past a mural being restored. It once showed a divine serpent, descending from the clouds surrounded by kneeling priests with fire in their hands. Now, half of it has flaked away. Only the serpent's mouth remains, open, empty. That night, you lie awake, listening to the sound of footsteps outside. Not soldiers, not thieves, just robed figures moving through the alleys, carrying clay jars and bundles of herbs. One stops by your door and leaves a stone, a black pebble with a single red stripe. You don't touch it. At dawn, the priesthood holds a meeting. Public, unusual. The high priest speaks from the temple of the moon. He says the gods demand more, that blood must flow from the people to restore the balance, that only devotion can bring back the rain. But you notice something in his voice, not power, not certainty, fear. He is pleading, not with you, with the gods, and they are not answering. One child in the crowd begins to cry. Her mother holds her close, rocking back and forth, whispering, "Shh, little Maze, shh, little Maze," as if a lullaby can silence the sky. That afternoon, another priest disappears. Some say he walked into the jungle alone to speak to the spirits there. Others say he was taken not by spirits, but by people tired of silence and hungry for someone to blame. In the evening you return to the temple steps. The stone is warm beneath you, still holding the day's heat. A wind stirs through the plaza. Dry, sharp. The priests begin another ceremony. Their voices are low, like mourning doves, like apology. You wonder if the gods are listening. You wonder if the priests still believe. You wonder which would be worse. Section 8. The King's Burden. The king used to be a god, not in name only but in truth, or at least in ritual. He didn't just rule the city, he carried its soul. Every harvest bore his blessing. Every drought became his fault. And now, in Copán's final years, the crown is heavier than ever. His name is Yaks Pasaj Chun Yopat, son of the line of kings stretching back centuries. He wears the serpent crown carved from jade and bone. He walks with obsidian scepters in both hands. He performs the rituals. He leads the chants. But no one envies him, because everyone knows if the gods are angry, it is his blood they want first. You see him only from afar. His court doesn't parade anymore. The palace courtyard, once bustling with dancers, petitioners, messengers, now lies silent. The steps are swept, but no feet climb them. Only guards linger more for ceremony than protection. Some say the king no longer eats with the nobles, that he dines alone beneath a painted ceiling where stars never move. Others whisper that he no longer dreams, that his sleep is haunted by ancestors all asking why he failed. One afternoon, you glimpse him during a ritual. He stands atop Temple 16, arms raised, his robes flowing in the dry wind. He speaks slowly, his voice hoarse. His face is painted white, the color of bones of maze, of endings. At his feet lies a bowl of his own blood. Once the people would have cheered. Now they watch in silence. The scribes still record his deeds. They etch his likeness into stelae as tradition demands. But even the glyphs seem less enthusiastic. One stone marker describes a great victory over a rival city, but the city it mentions was abandoned years ago. You pass the Hall of Thrones and notice cracks in the stone seats, moss growing where banners used to hang. The thrones remain, but the power they represent feels brittle. A merchant tells you that the king has sold some of the jade from the royal stores, not for war, not for tribute, but to trade for water. Water from deep springs carried across valleys by men who no longer believe in crowns. You remember hearing your father speak of earlier kings rulers who tamed rivers, raised pyramids, spoke to the stars. They were gods in human skin. But now people look at Yaks Pasaj and see not a god, just a man, tired, bleeding, alone. The nobles still support him in public, but behind closed doors their voices rise. Some say he prays too much, others say not enough. Some blame his advisors, others blame his blood. A few whisper that the dynasty has failed, that a new lineage must rise. And the priests? They need someone to blame. You walk past a shrine where a small effigy of the king stands next to a bowl of ashes. It's not official. No royal symbol marks it, but someone carved the crown, and someone burned the offering. You wonder if it's a prayer or a curse. A boy throws a stone at the effigy when no one is looking. You begin to notice fewer guards around the palace, fewer torches lit at night, as if the heart of the city is slowly dimming pulse by pulse. At the foot of a dry aqueduct, an elder woman speaks to a crowd. A tree that no longer bears fruit must be cut. She doesn't say the king's name. She doesn't have to. Everyone understands. The next day a scroll appears in the marketplace unsigned, but written in the king's own hand. It speaks of renewal, of faith, of the gods watching. It calls for unity. It ends with a glyph for water and another for sacrifice. It is not well received. Later that week, you hear drums, not the drums of ceremony, but of warning. A procession climbs the temple steps again, but this time not for ritual. It's a sentencing. One of the king's former advisors is to be sacrificed for withholding sacred knowledge. You don't recognize his name. Most people don't, but they watch anyway. The king doesn't appear. That night, thunder rolls in the distance, a low growl with no rain behind it. You lie in your home, listening to the wind scratch the stone walls like fingers. In your dreams, you see the king walking through empty halls, calling names no one answers to. He wears the crown, he bleeds for the gods, but the gods are gone, and the people are leaving. In the morning, a scribe tells you something strange, that a new star has appeared in the sky, just above the eastern ridge. Some say it's an omen. Others say it's just light. The king orders a ceremony. Few attend. You stand among them. Watch him climb the stairs once more. His hands tremble on the railing. He looks thinner, older. His crown glints in the sun, beautiful, heavy, cursed. He raises his arms. And the city, tired watching, waits to see if this time the gods will care. Section 9, Cracks in the Pyramid. It begins with a sound. Not thunder, not drums, a quiet, dry pop like bone splintering under cloth. You don't notice it at first, not until you pass the base of Temple 26 and see the dust, fine and white, crumbling from between the steps. The pyramid is cracking. At first, people say it's nothing, just erosion, just time. But the whispers come quickly, that the gods are breaking their own houses, that the city's heart, its stone, its memory is giving out. You walk the plaza with a strange heaviness in your chest. It's not just the temple. You see fissures in the walls of the observatory. A piece of the game court has collapsed in on itself. The murals in the Hall of Glyphs are flaking faster, revealing bare stone beneath sacred paint. Something is falling apart. Not just the buildings. The ground near the southern stelae is soft, too soft. A boy sinks up to his ankle in what used to be a stable path. He laughs at first, then cries. His mother pulls him out, brushing at his leg, but you both see it, a thin, reddish seep rising from the earth. Not water. Back at the Temple of the Sun, a priest gestures wildly during a ritual. His chant turns into a plea, then a scream. The crowd stares. He falls to his knees. Blood pours from his nose. Later, he says the gods are shaking the foundations, that they are taking the city back. That night, a small tremor hits. Stones shift in the market wall. Pots fall. A child is struck by falling thatch. People sleep outside their homes, eyes wide open, watching the sky, as if it might give a reason. The next morning, a group of scribes examines the pyramid. They tap its base with carved rods, listening. They mutter. One takes notes on bark paper with a shaking hand. He does not share what he writes. That afternoon, he leaves the city. Not on royal orders, not on pilgrimage. Just leaves. More cracks appear in the weeks to come. Not just physical ones. Families begin to argue. Accusations fly. Someone didn't complete their offering. Someone let a forbidden child inside the temple. Someone hid food. These things used to be handled by courts. Now they're handled by fists. You sit near the Temple of Masks and listen as a young man tells a story to a group of children. It's a new story, not from the old codices. He says the city was built on the back of a sleeping beast, and now it's waking up. It's rolling over, and soon it will rise and shake the people off. The children believe him. You almost do too. Another pyramid. A smaller one, once used for stargazing, collapses halfway down its eastern face. No one is hurt, but the wind carries the dust for hours. When it settles, you see someone has carved a single glyph in the base of the rubble. Enough. A noblewoman is caught trying to remove her family's bones from the royal crypt. She says the spirits don't belong here anymore. She wants to carry them into the jungle, far from the falling stone. She's stopped, but not punished. Because even the guards don't want to be near the crypt anymore. One evening, you climb a small platform near your home to get a better view. The city lies before you, rooftops, courtyards, temples, broken and whole. You can't tell where the sacred begins or where the decay ends. The moon rises behind the tallest pyramid. A crack runs through its center like a mouth opening. You turn to your grandfather, who stands beside you silent. His eyes glisten. They forgot, he whispers. The stone isn't forever. We thought it was, but it listens. You ask, listens to what? He replies, to footsteps, to chants, to promises. It remembers what we promised. And it's tired of waiting. In the final days, even the builders give up. The stonemasons no longer patch walls. The carvers stop decorating altars. The painters lay their brushes down. One paints a final glyph before leaving Let It Fall. And so it does. Not all at once, but bit by bit. A cornice here, a frieze there. A step crumbling a face, eroding a symbol worn down into meaningless swirl. And the people, they keep walking the same paths, past the same walls, as if pretending the cracks aren't there might make them disappear. But the stone remembers. It always remembers. Section 10. The children leave first. You don't notice it at first. A cousin who doesn't show up at the morning meal. A neighbor's son who stops bringing water from the spring. Then, a familiar voice usually heard playing among the temple steps is simply gone. It's the children who leave first. Not all at once. Not in some great exodus. They vanish like birds at the edge of a storm, quietly, instinctively, almost without anyone noticing, until it's too late. A boy goes missing. A girl follows her older brother. A group leaves with their uncle who says there's land further east where the rains still fall. You sit in the courtyard and watch a mother carve her daughter's name into the stone wall beside her home. Not a monument, not a memorial, just a way to hold on to something. The girl was 10, wore a red sash every day, loved tamarind fruit, gone. Some say the elders encouraged them to go, that if the children left, they might survive. Others say they went without permission, stolen in the night by wandering groups who promised food, shelter, safety. A few whisper that the gods took them, that the city gave them up in place of blood. Whatever the truth, their absence spreads through the city like a second silence. You pass the market and see more empty spaces. The laughter that once bounced off the stone walls is gone. Toys lie abandoned, clay whistles, miniature ball game paddles, woven dolls without arms. A group of younger teens gather each morning, now not to play, but to wait. They watch the road leading out of Copán as if hoping someone will come back. None do. One morning you follow a trail, not official, just footprints, scattered feathers, broken twigs, leading away from the city deep into the brush. You find a small clearing, a circle of stones, a still warm fire. Someone was here, maybe last night, maybe just before dawn. Tied to one of the stones is a strip of red fabric. You return without touching it. At the temple the priests chant harder now, their voices higher, sharper, almost panicked. They pray for the return of the young. They burn maize and flower petals, but it's clear they don't expect answers. The gods want bodies, not reunions. Some parents refuse to accept what's happening. They leave bowls of food outside their doors. They keep rooms tidy. They tell stories aloud each night, hoping the voices will carry. Others fall silent. One man builds a small shrine from broken toys. Every day, he adds another. A boy named Tikal used to carve birds into every wall he passed. Little hummingbirds' wings outstretched. Now his name is carved next to them. Gone to fly, someone wrote beneath it. One day, a group of elders meets in the central plaza. They don't make speeches. They don't ask for change. They just sit facing the temples, facing the forest, and watch. A woman weaves while staring at the eastern path. A man sharpens a blade, then stops halfway through. They are waiting for the last child to leave. That evening, you speak with a midwife who has delivered dozens of children across the years. She tells you that the newest babies cry less, that they are born quieter, that even their hearts beat softer. I think she says they don't want to stay. You hear of a place beyond the river, a hidden village, not on any map. A place where water flows freely, where trees still flower, where someone is building a new city. The children go there, someone says. They follow dreams. You want to believe it. You need to. Because if the children are simply gone, lost to hunger, or stolen by silence, then the city is more than dying. It's already dead. At dusk you sit beneath a carved lintel showing the hero twins. In the story, they descend into the underworld and return victorious. They outwit the gods of death. They play ball with bones. They shine again as the sun and the moon. But in Copán no one returns. That night, You dream of footsteps, small ones, echoing down temple halls, of doors opening to fields not yet ruined, of laughter just beyond reach. You wake to find a bracelet at your door, braided from 3 threads, blue, red, and white, the kind children make when they learn to tie knots. You hold it for a long time, then you leave it there, because maybe it means goodbye, or maybe it means follow us. And deep down, you wonder, what if the children knew something no one else did? What if leaving wasn't abandoning, but surviving? Section 11. The corn that didn't grow. You wake early and walk to the edge of the terraces, where the fields used to wave like golden seas under the sun. This morning, the air smells of dust and quiet ash. You close your eyes and try to imagine what this place once sounded like: wind moving through maize, stalks frogs, croaking by irrigation ditches, the soft rustle of harvest baskets dragged across the earth. Now there is no sound. The corn didn't grow this year. Not here. Not anywhere near Copán, not even the hardy varieties, the blue kernels, the short-season breeds, the mountain strains brought down from higher elevations. Nothing. It was as if the earth refused. The seeds were there, the hands were willing, the prayers abundant, but the corn didn't come. You pass a woman kneeling in the dirt, her hand resting on a dead stalk like it's a child. Her fingers are caked in clay. She doesn't move. The same woman planted that spot every year since she was young. You remember her laughing when the first shoots appeared. That laughter is gone now. Her mouth moves. You think she's still praying. Further down the slope, a group of men dig furrows in a desperate attempt to catch moisture from dew. It's a technique meant for deserts. This land wasn't supposed to be a desert, but it's becoming one. You see a boy carrying a basket full of nothing. Not symbolic. He was sent to gather ears that don't exist. He walks in loops, hoping maybe he missed one. You almost tell him to stop, but he looks so focused, so hopeful that you let him continue. You sit on a rock near the foot of the field and run your hand through the dry soil. It crumbles, powdery, dead. No scent of growth, no worms, no resistance, just dust. Someone has etched a glyph into a stone. Nearby Chak turned his face. Chak, the god of rain, the bringer of storms, the one who rides the clouds and strikes the earth with lightning. In good years his name was spoken joyfully, painted in blue with drops falling from his hands. Now it's scratched into rocks like an accusation. The temples have begun hoarding the last stores of maize. The granaries near the palace are under guard. No longer do families gather around fires to share fresh tortillas. Meals are made from bitter roots, bark pay-spoiled leaves. One woman was caught trying to steal a handful of maize kernels from the ceremonial store. They say she tried to eat them raw, one by one, not even cooking them. Her punishment was exile. Some say she's still alive in the jungle. Others think she never made it past the river. The stories shift. The corn you see was more than food. It was life. It was identity. The Maya believed people were made of maize, not just in metaphor, in myth, in body. To lose maize was to lose yourself. The songs have changed too. Once they praised the 3 sisters maize beans and squash for feeding the people. Now the songs are laments, soft and slow like dirges. Mothers hum them while scraping burnt pots. Children hum them when there's nothing else to do. You remember when the harvest festival was the biggest event of the year. Painted dancers, drums like thunder, heaps of food, even the poorest families offered extra to strangers. Now the festival has been canceled 2 years in a row. The altars are bare. You walk past an abandoned plot where someone tried to grow maize in clay jars. All are cracked. Some were shattered, perhaps by frustration. One still holds a single seed, half-sprouted, wilted before it ever had a chance. A man passes you carrying a clay tablet. He says he's documenting this season every failure, every failed planting, every rainfall that never came. You ask why. He shrugs. So that if someone reads it one day, they'll understand what broke. The thought haunts you. Not what killed the city, what broke it. Because it wasn't just the gods, or the sky, or the soil. It was belief that the corn would always return, that the cycle would never end. But now the cycle is silent. You hear someone muttering near the old granary. It was our pride. We thought we owned the corn, but the corn owned us. And now it's gone. You return home and find your father sifting through a bowl of shriveled kernels. He counts them, mutters numbers under his breath. Your mother slices a root with a dull obsidian shard. Neither of them looks up. You eat slowly, quietly. The food tastes like nothing, but it's something. And in this time, something is everything. Later that night, you dream of green, fields overflowing, hands sinking into soft dirt, a sky bursting with thunder and life. You wake with your hands clenched as if still holding a cob. But it isn't real. You open your hands. Only dust. Section 12. Wars Without Enemies. It begins with a rumor that someone from the northern district stole water from a sacred pool. Or maybe it was food from a royal granary. Or maybe someone insulted the gods by refusing to join the last bloodletting ritual. The details change with every voice, but the tension stays. There are no invaders, no foreign army at the gates, yet there is war. Not a grand trumpet-blaring kind of war, but a slow, creeping kind. Quiet blades, vanished neighbors, smoke rising from a hut that shouldn't be burning, a market that closes early because no one trusts the vendors anymore. You wake to shouting, not far, sharp words, a slap, the sound of pottery breaking. You hear feet running, then nothing. The silence that follows is worse than the noise. You step into the street and see the wall outside a home painted with a black glyph thief. You don't ask who it's for. Everyone already knows. The man who lived there is gone. No one says where. The guards no longer serve the king. They serve themselves, or the highest bidder. Some patrol the palace. Others demand food in exchange for protection. One stands on the temple steps, holding a spear that isn't his, with a face that says don't ask. People now keep stones in their homes, not for building, for throwing. You pass the once grand ball court, now split by a new wall of stacked stones. On one side, the eastern families. On the other, the western. They used to cheer together. Now, they don't speak. Someone carves barriers into old roads, trees chopped and laid across paths, ditches dug to slow passage. It doesn't stop people, but it sends a message: you're not welcome here. Even the priests are choosing sides. One temple opens only to people who can prove they've sacrificed. Another closes completely, its doors sealed with red paint and a circle of bones. They say it's to keep the gods in, or out. No one is sure anymore. You visit your cousin's home and find it empty, just bowls and mats and a single broken cup. A sign hangs from the beam. We go where the gods still listen. You don't know if that place exists, but you hope they find it. In the central plaza, someone sets fire to the statue of 18 Rabbit. Once a symbol of Copán's greatness, now a blackened headless silhouette. The stone didn't burn, but something else did. The idea that the past still matters. The king issues no commands. The palace is quiet. Rumor says he is ill. Others say he's already dead, and the nobles are just pretending, hoping to keep their grip on the last shreds of order. At night, groups move through the streets with torches, not for light, for warning. Their faces are masked with clay and charcoal. They chant softly. You can't understand the words. Maybe they aren't words at all. Maybe it's just sound to keep the silence away. The next morning you find a message etched into the door of your neighbor's home choose. Beneath it, a single maize cob, shriveled, dried, tied with a red thread. A choice between what you don't know. But you scrape the message away anyway, just in case. Children no longer play outside. Families no longer share meals. When people gather now, it is with eyes, lowered backs tense. Every conversation feels like a test. You visit the temple garden and find someone has planted obsidian shards in the soil, sharp gleaming, arranged like a crown. A cruel garden. A warning. Or maybe a prayer. The scribes no longer write history. They write lists, names of the missing, names of the accused, names of those who left. And always, one name circled us. There is no enemy out there, only here. You walk through a district once filled with music and cooking smoke and the sound of laughter through woven walls. Now the doors are barred, the altars smashed. You see a boy drawing circles in the dirt with a stick. He looks up at you and says, "I think the gods are afraid of us now." You nod. You think he might be right. One night a voice rises from the southern edge, not a scream, but a song. Soft wordless rising like smoke. Others join, one by one. No rhythm, no melody. Just sound, human and raw. The next day, 3 homes are burned. No one sings again. There are no battles, no victories, just fear, slowly growing roots in every wall, every heart, every breath. And you realize something: the war didn't come from outside. It grew here, fed by drought, by hunger, by silence, and now it walks these streets. No banners, no drums, just cracked stone, sharp eyes, and trust gone. Section 13. When the ball courts fell silent. It's easy to forget how important the game was. It wasn't just play. It wasn't just sport. It was sacred. The Maya ball game was part ritual, part theater, part trial. To watch it was to witness the cosmos made flesh. 2 teams, a heavy rubber ball. No hands allowed. Players in leather pads, feathers, jade ornaments. The court was a world, between worlds a place, where mortals echoed the gods. Now the courts are quiet. You walk past Copán's main ball court, and the first thing you notice is the dust. Once it was swept daily. Now weeds poke between the stones. A broken hoop leans sideways on its mount. Someone tried to fix it. A rope lashed tightly around the base, but it didn't hold. You step closer. The carvings along the court walls are still visible. Gods in flight, lords in motion, jaguar masks, and flint blades. But the stone is worn smooth from sun and neglect. The players are frozen mid-leap, locked in a game no one plays anymore. You sit on the lower bench, where the families once gathered. You can still picture it, the crowd pressed close, cheering, gasping, chanting in rhythm as the ball bounced back and forth like a captured star. The game was never just a game. It was how cities proved power, how rivals resolved disputes, how kings displayed favor from the gods. It's been over a season since the last match. That one ended early. Not from injury, not from forfeit. The players stopped. Mid-game, without signal, they simply walked off the court, one by one, leaving the ball where it bounced. No one explained why. They just left. You hear different versions. That it was a protest, that the gods no longer watched, that they heard something no one else could, a silence too deep to ignore. Now the court is abandoned. The chalk lines faded. The announcer's platform collapsed. The viewing shade torn and folded in on itself like a dying insect's wing. You see a child near the edge. He kicks a stone in slow, awkward arcs across the dirt. Not with skill, not with joy, just to pass time. He looks up when he sees you, then walks away. One of the priests declared the court cursed. He said games are pointless when the gods have turned their backs, that every bounce is wasted breath. He was once a game priest assigned to bless the players before every tournament. Now he tends a dry fire outside a cracked shrine. The players have scattered. Some left Copán entirely. Others are said to be training alone in secret in case the matches return. One, the captain of the Eastern team, was found meditating in the riverbed, sitting on a sun-warmed stone, eyes closed, unmoving for hours. When asked why, he said, "I'm waiting for the world to call me back." It hasn't. In the marketplace, carved whistles, shaped like players, go unsold. Children no longer trade miniature rubber balls. The stories of famous matches once repeated with firelight intensity now fall flat. People don't want to remember a game that once meant something. One morning, someone paints a red X across the ball court's western gate. That same night, someone else washes it away. But not entirely. The faint lines remain like a scar no one agrees to acknowledge. You speak with an elder scribe who used to track match scores with clay counters. He still wears them on a cord around his neck. When you ask him if the game will return, he sighs. Only when we stop playing with death and start playing with hope. You think of how the game mirrored the stars, the rising and falling of the ball like Venus ascending, the back and forth like seasons. Victory was cosmic, defeat sometimes divine. Players were chosen for skill and sometimes for sacrifice. The ball court was the center of Copán's breath. Now it holds its breath. At sunset, you pass the court again. A single figure stands in the middle, not moving, just standing. Back straight, barefoot, hands by their sides. You don't recognize them. They're too far away. You wait. They don't move. Eventually, the shadows swallow them. Later that week, a council of elders gathers briefly on the court steps. They speak of reopening it, of staging a ceremonial match even if no one watches, to bring life back to the stones. But nothing comes of it. No volunteers, no players, no ball. The game is gone, the echo is missing, and without it, the city feels unmeasured. You touch the edge of the wall as you leave. The stone is warm, the kind of warmth that comes, not from sun, but from memory. You imagine the ball bouncing once more. Cheers, dust rising. A sudden point scored, and the world holding its breath. But when you open your eyes, there is only silence. Section 14. The Last Festival. It was supposed to be a celebration. The festival of the Maize Lord, the grandest day of the year. When dancers flooded the plazas in feathered costumes, when music soared through the streets, when every household lit incense and hung garlands of yellow blossoms. It was the day the gods returned to bless the city, when the past, present, and future braided together in one long golden day. This year the day came, but the festival did not. You wake before dawn and wait for the drums. None come, no flutes, no shell horns, no rhythmic stomps of dancers pounding stone with bare feet. The plaza is quiet. A few people move with hesitation, like they forgot how this day is supposed to feel. In past years, the air by now would have been thick with smoke, sweet copal roasted cacao, grilled maize cakes, and flower petals crushed beneath 1,000 sandals. Now it smells of dry stone and caution. You walk to the city center. Someone has tried. A small altar has been set. A bowl of water, a few withered stalks, a single bundle of dyed cotton. A priest stands beside it, dressed in faded green and blue. His headdress is wilted, the feathers shedding. He murmurs a prayer with his eyes closed. No one joins him. The festival dancers were seen practicing weeks ago, but they stopped, too tired, too thin. One broke a bone from fainting. Another left the city entirely. Their costumes remain folded away in baskets, half-finished, untouched. The children who once ran between performers, mimicking every move, are gone too, or silent, or watching from shadows. A woman begins painting the edges of her doorway with yellow, a tradition for inviting blessings. But halfway through, she stops. She leans the brush against the wall and sits down, staring into the middle distance. The paint drips slowly, forming streaks like tears. At the Temple of the Moon, the priests attempt to begin the rites. They chant, they burn incense, they raise their arms, but the plaza is nearly empty. A handful of elders sit quietly. A dog lies asleep near the steps. The wind stirs the banners, but no one claps, no one dances. Someone starts a drum beat. It lasts 7 seconds. Then, silence. You remember last year's festival. It had already been smaller, quieter, but still full of color. There were dancers dressed as gods with mouths shaped like maize cobs, others spinning in cloaks of butterfly wings. The crowd sang back and forth, trading lines of old poems. For one day, Copán remembered who it was. This year, it tries to forget. A lone musician walks the temple corridor, holding a clay flute. He doesn't play it, he just walks, as if waiting for a sign, or a permission that never comes. In the early afternoon, someone releases birds, a handful of doves from a woven cage. They flap once, twice, then vanish into the sky. A small cheer erupts, then dies. The sound feels out of place, like laughter at a funeral. You pass a mural newly painted, a figure of the maize god with his arms outstretched, not in blessing, but as if asking a question. Beneath him, the fields are bare. His crown of green stalks is cracked, his face is peeling. One boy attempts to dance. He wears a mask made of bark and cloth. His steps are uneven. He spins twice, trips, then sits down and pulls off the mask. No one laughs. He doesn't cry. He just leaves it on the ground and walks away. As the sun lowers, people gather in small circles. No fireworks, no chanting, just sitting. Watching the light fade from the temple stones, the shadow of Temple 16 stretches long across the plaza, like a closing curtain. A woman brings out a pot of cacao, warm bitter meant for the gods. She drinks it alone, facing the west. Then she pours the rest onto the ground. You sit beside a friend who says nothing for a long time. Then he murmurs, "It's not just that the festival failed. It's that no one expected it to work." The stars rise, but no one names them. The torches are lit, but they don't flicker with joy. The final song of the night, once performed by 7 voices in 7 dialects, is sung by one man with a cracked voice and a reed whistle. He finishes, he bows, no one claps. And the festival ends not with drums, not with cries of joy, but with a door closing somewhere in the dark. Section 15. A wall of vultures. They used to be omens, black wings circling above the plaza, silent but watched carefully by priests and scribes. A single vulture over the temple, a warning. 2 over the ball court, a message from the gods. Now they are just part of the sky, always there, watching, waiting. You see them first from the temple steps, a long row of vultures perched on the crumbling wall of the eastern causeway. Dozens, silent, still, facing the city like judges on a throne. No one dares to chase them. At first, you tell yourself it's coincidence, that they are simply scavengers following the scent of dry death, that animals don't carry meaning. But the longer they stay, day after day, never moving far, the harder it is to pretend they aren't waiting for something or someone. You walk past the market square and notice that more meat is being dried than eaten. Less cooking, more hoarding. People are preparing, but not for a feast, for leaving, or hiding, or surviving without help. The vultures know. They've begun roosting in places once considered sacred, the lintel above the temple gate, the carved shoulder of a royal statue, the roof of the scribe's hall. Some say it's a sign that the gods have abandoned those places, that what was once holy has been claimed by shadow. A boy throws a stone at one of them. It doesn't flinch, just turns its head and stares slow, unblinking. The boy runs. You hear stories and murmurs of people collapsing in their homes, their bodies undiscovered for days. Of vultures circling before anyone knows someone has died. Of birds following certain individuals through the streets as if counting steps. They're not just scavengers now. They're census takers. At the granary wall, someone paints a large glyph. A stylized vulture wings, outspread its claws, gripping a maize cob. No one erases it. Some place offerings beneath it, beads, feathers, even a tooth. Maybe fear is a kind of worship too. You walk to the edge of the forest and see them again, this time on the branches of the dead trees. Motionless. Spread wide like a crown of black thorns against the sky. The priesthood is divided. Some claim the birds are messengers, that they bring word from the gods, and when they leave it means forgiveness. Others say they're spies for Xibalba, the underworld, sent to count the living and report back. One priest begins marking every vulture he sees with red pigment, a dot on the head. He says it helps him track which ones follow him. Within 3 days he stops. The birds began appearing at his doorstep. He disappears soon after. In the plaza, a young girl draws birds into the dirt with her finger. Not flying, not feeding, just perched. She circles each one with a line like placing them in cages. You ask her what she's doing. She says keeping them where they belong. You walk the old royal path and count 14 vultures lined up on the palace roof. 14, the same number as the city's known rulers. Someone else notices too. They light incense at the palace steps and begin chanting names. No one joins them. At night you dream of feathers, not soft and floating, but sharp. Blades made of wingbone. Beaks tapping on the stone above your bed. You wake up sweating the sound of flapping wings, still echoing in your ears. When you go outside, they're there on the wall across from your door. 5 of them. Heads tilted, waiting. You do not sleep again that night. Someone begins leaving food for them, scraps of dried fishbone shards. The birds eat it. But they don't leave. The offerings become more elaborate slices of cacao, honeyed maize, even animal hearts. The vultures take all and stay. A child vanishes and someone says it was the birds. That they carried her away? It's nonsense, of course, but no one argues. Because in this city, truth has become a feathered thing shifting weightless dark. One elder says they are not just watching us die. They are watching us choose how we die. And still they remain. A wall of vultures, framing every ceremony, every silence, every slow collapse. They do not call out. They do not strike. They do not bless. They only wait. And somewhere in your chest, something tells you they'll be the last ones to leave. Section 16. Jungle reclaims the temples. At first, the vines were beautiful. green threads curling up the corners of carved staircases, moss dusting the base of forgotten shrines, tiny flowers blooming from cracks in royal murals. The jungle never left Copán. It simply waited, patient, quiet, watching. Now it's no longer waiting. You walk toward Temple 11 and see that the southern stair has vanished under foliage. Not completely. The shape is still there, like bones beneath skin, but the stones are hidden, softened, rooted. A young ceiba tree has sprouted between two carved glyphs. Its roots split the wall like a slow blade. Some call it a sign of renewal. Others call it betrayal. You pass the Temple of the Jaguar, once guarded by painted warriors in full feathered dress. The murals have faded, worn down by rain and sun and time, but what truly steals the wall is a creeping vine with red-veined leaves. It coils over the jaguar's face, covers its eyes, its teeth. The animal looks less like a god now, more like prey. The high priest once ordered the jungle cleared every season. Men would climb the steps with obsidian knives and bundles of firewood, slashing vines, burning brush. But those men are gone now, or tired, or frightened of what grows back faster than ever. You step into a courtyard and notice saplings pushing up through the tiled floor. Little cracks have become fault lines. Ferns dance along roof edges. Spider monkeys scamper across temple ledges that once hosted kings. You hear them in the morning, not the monkeys, but the trees. Leaves rubbing, roots pushing, branches creaking as they stretch across sacred stone. The jungle speaks a slow language, but it is loud now. Inside the Temple of Inscriptions, someone has begun drawing glyphs in charcoal on the leaves. Not sacred text, just warnings. Slippery, don't sleep here, snakes. One simply reads, taken. Roots crawl across stelae like fingers searching for memory. One statue lies half buried in a curtain of ivy. Its nose is chipped, its hands gone. The jungle isn't cruel, just hungry. A scribe walks past you with a bundle of scrolls. He's marking which temples are still accessible. We've lost 4, he says. Maybe 5 by next season. He doesn't sound angry, just tired, like someone documenting the slow erasure of a language he once spoke fluently. Some say the gods live in the forest now, that they have moved their altars to the roots and vines. A boy brings offerings of fruit to a massive strangler fig, placing cacao beans into a hollow knot in the trunk. You ask him why. He shrugs. This tree listens. At night the city sounds different. No more chants, no more drums, just insects, frogs, the distant cough of a jaguar. The jungle hums, and the temples, once stone lungs of Copán, begin to echo less and less. The Temple of the Moon's western face has collapsed. Not all at once, just sagging. One stone after another, like a spine slowly breaking. It used to be the place couples would where girls brought offerings for fertility, where rain prayers were strongest. Now snakes sleep there. A child disappears after chasing a bird into the overgrown canal path. He is found days later, sitting beneath a tree, speaking to no one. He will not say what he saw. Others begin leaving flower garlands in the forest, not the temples. They answer faster, one woman says. She wears lichen on her wrists like jewelry. Her face is painted green, not with pigment, but crushed moss. Even the priests no longer scold these acts. You find yourself walking quieter, slower, as if not to disturb the ground, as if the city itself is sinking into leaf and loam and shadow. And maybe that's what's happening. One evening, you climb Temple 18, the highest point, still safe. You look across Copán, the plazas, the courts, the shrines, all broken by color and growth. The jungle is not subtle. It does not creep, it swallows. And as you stand there, a breeze carries a scent, sweet rot wet bark, distant blossoms. It smells like time unraveling. You close your eyes, and you think maybe this was always the plan. Not destruction, just return. The gods never left. They were just growing. Section 17. The River That Forgot Its Name. There used to be a song. The river had one not with words but with rhythm. It hummed under the bridges. It sang at dawn as women washed maize and children bathed. It whispered secrets to the stones and carried prayers downstream in baskets of flowers and ash. Now it is mostly quiet. You walk to its edge, where the current once ran wide, and deep curling around the city like a silver necklace. Today, it's a trickle, a slow, confused path winding through stones baked white by sun. Frogs sit in shallow puddles blinking. Fish, the few that remain, dart between muddy hollows. Some people still come here, out of habit, out of memory. They kneel beside the shallows and scoop water into cracked bowls. It tastes of clay and forgetting. The river was once called Oxwatick, 3 wits, for the 3 hill ridges it flowed between. But no one says the name aloud anymore. The word feels heavy now, like a memory no one wants to claim. You sit beneath a crumbling bridge and trace old glyphs carved into the support stones, symbols for water movement, the underworld. Once water flowed past them, like time itself. Now dust gathers in the grooves. An elder approaches carrying a bundle of sticks and a small offering bowl. She kneels beside the water and pours in crushed maize, whispering a prayer in a dialect you barely recognize. You ask her why she still offers to the river. She replies, because it still listens, just not in our language. You walk upstream and find old watermarks lines stained into the stone walls far above your head. That was the height during the Great Harvest Festival. That line there, the year of twin eclipses. This one here, that was when the maize was so tall, people danced between stalks. Now the water doesn't even reach your ankles. A child digs into the soft bank, forming tiny channels, trying to redirect the stream. He says he's rebuilding the city. This is the palace, he says, pointing to a sandbar. This is the temple. And here, he adds with pride, is where the river brings the rain. You don't correct him. You wish it were true. Further along the bank, you see old fishing nets tangled in reeds. Nobody uses them anymore. Not enough fish. A young man once tried to dam part of the river with clay and woven mats to create a deep pool, a last place of water. But the pool dried up. Now it's a cracked basin filled with insect husks. At the river bend, where the healers once bathed their tools, a shrine still stands. Small, tilted. Someone left a doll there wrapped in blue cloth. Its face is smudged, its limbs stiff. But it faces the water as if waiting. You ask a scribe why the river changed. He gives you 5 reasons: drought, deforestation, silt, upstream interference, the will of the gods. He writes all of them into his records. But he admits none of them feel like the answer. Because the truth is harder. The river forgot. It forgot its course, its song, its purpose. It began wandering in the dry months, forming false paths, cutting into hillsides, vanishing underground. A water diviner says the river is sick, that it has no memory, no sense of return. You watch a group of elders plant poles along the edge, wrapped in cloth bells hanging from their tips. They say it's to remind the river of where it used to go. Sometimes rivers need direction, one says, but the bells don't ring. The wind doesn't blow. One day the river simply stops. Not completely, but still enough to notice. A pool turns to mud. A trickle pauses. Frogs burrow into the soft earth. People look upstream. Nothing. No flood, no blockage. Just stillness. Some claim to hear singing from the deep bends at night, low voices humming in the dark. Others say the river has gone to sleep, that it's dreaming its old path and may wake up again someday. You kneel beside it one last time, cupping water into your hands. It's warm, not fresh, but it is water. You sip, and for a moment, a brief, sharp moment, you remember the way this city once glittered, how it bloomed by the water's edge, how the river knew every secret, every joy, every grief. And now it forgets. Section 18. The Last Codex. The scribes were always the quiet ones, heads bent over folded bark paper, fingers stained with soot and blood. They didn't chant like priests or command like nobles, but they remembered everything. The births, the battles, the stars, the debts. They remembered even the forgetting. Now only one remains. You find him in the shade of a collapsing library chamber, sitting cross-legged beside a small fire. Not for warmth, for drying ink. Before him lies an open codex, soft brown paper, made from fig bark pages spread wide like wings. He doesn't look up when you approach. For weeks, maybe months, he has been writing. Alone, silent. He has no apprentices, no candles, only the last ink pot in the city, its pigment made from crushed charcoal and the juice of forest berries. You sit across from him and watch. He works slowly, with the steady rhythm of someone who knows the world is ending and is trying to trap its breath before it disappears. The Codex is unlike the others. It does not recount victories. It does not celebrate kings. There are no divine serpents or maize gods on the first page. Instead, it begins with a single glyph, a hand reaching into empty space. You ask him what it means. He says, "I don't know anymore." Other codices were stored in temple vaults, copied endlessly, read during ceremonies. But most have been lost, burned for fuel, buried beneath vines, stolen, abandoned. The wind took some, mold others. This one stays with him, always beside the fire, always wrapped in cloth when not in use. He calls it the Popol Remel Book of the Remaining. He does not write in perfect columns. The glyphs wander, curve, double back, as if unsure which direction to follow. Some lines are smudged, others cross out entire pages. You see drawings, too, of people carrying bundles of temples with cracked tops of birds flying in opposite directions. At the corner of one page, a child's face, eyes closed, peaceful. You ask whose story it tells. He says ours, but not the way we told it. Later, he offers you a brush, a blank scrap of paper. He says if you remember something, anything, you should add it. A festival dance, a favorite food, a smell, a mistake. You hesitate. Then draw a small glyph, a maize cob half shucked. He nods and says, "Good, the gods may not remember, but someone should." Others come and go. Some watch, some whisper, a few contribute. A stonecutter draws the first crack in the pyramid. A midwife draws a birthmark that vanished after 2 days. A cook draws the shape of a broken bowl that once held cacao, too rich to forget. The codex grows heavier. One day the scribe stops writing. He seals the codex in a tight wrap of leather and cloth, then digs. Not deep, just far enough beneath the steps of the Hall of Paintings. He places the bundle in the earth like a child being put to sleep. He pours a bowl of ink over it, then ash, then soil. He says, "This isn't for the gods." You ask then for who? He answers, for the ones who come later, or maybe the ones who stayed. A week later, he disappears. Some say he followed the river upstream. Others say he returned to the jungle city his grandfather once spoke of. A few believe he became a glyph turned into a symbol so future hands could read him. You pass by the hall weeks later and see moss growing where he dug. A single red flower has sprouted over the buried book. You sit beside it. The flower smells like ink. You think of all that was not written, and all that was. And how maybe remembering isn't about keeping everything. Maybe it's about choosing what not to forget. Section 19. The ones who stayed most left quietly. At first, it was the children, then the farmers, then the hunters and traders. Some went east, chasing rumors of fresh springs. Others followed stars, birds' dreams. A few simply walked into the jungle and never looked back. But some stayed. You see them in the morning, sweeping dust from temple steps. No one climbs anymore. They don't do it out of devotion. They do it because it's what their hands remember. One woman brings fresh water to a shrine every day, though she no longer believes the gods are watching. It's not for them, she says. It's for me. A potter still shapes bowls in the clay yard. He no longer fires them, no longer sells them. He simply lines them along a low wall, watching the wind tip them over, one by one, like prayers, he says, falling out of the sky. You meet an old healer who speaks only in proverbs now. She sits beside a crumbled courtyard and mutters things like even silent stones carry echoes, or the ant does not abandon the hill because of one bad rain. You ask her why she never left. She replies, because leaving does not always mean surviving. There's a boy who climbs the highest tower every morning to light incense. He says it's to signal the others, the ones who might return. He waves at the trees, at the sky, sometimes at no one, sometimes at you. The baker keeps baking. Only a few small loaves each day. He places them on a flat stone outside his home. Some are eaten, some are not. Someone always comes, he says. A bird, a stranger, a god in disguise. You wonder what it means to stay. If it's bravery, or stubbornness, or simply the inability to imagine a life elsewhere. There are no laws now, No council meetings, no festivals. Yet somehow the streets are swept, the wells cleaned, fires lit. A kind of quiet rhythm holds the city together, not in order, but in memory. The ones who stayed do not speak much. But when they do, their words feel heavier. Like roots. One woman tends a garden behind the Temple of the Moon. Nothing grows, but she tills waters plants. Every week, you ask her what she hopes to grow. She answers, belonging. At night, the air is still. No music, no feasts, but fires burn on a few doorsteps. You hear the scrape of someone sharpening a blade, the whistle of breath through a flute, a low hum, a dream refusing to die. You find a boy carving names into a wooden beam, names of people he remembers, names of those who left, names he invents. When you ask him why, he says, if someone finds this city, they'll want to know who we were. Even the vultures keep their distance now. Maybe they've had their fill. Maybe even they respect the ones who won't leave. One morning it rains. Not much. Just enough to darken the stone and make the moss glisten. The few who remain step out into it, slowly, faces upturned. They don't dance. They don't sing. They just breathe. You sit with them, letting the water trace paths down your arms, your legs, your back. It smells like dust and sky, like something that used to be normal. One man offers you a cup of hot broth. There's no meat, just roots and herbs, but it's warm. He says there's enough if you stay. You don't answer. But you don't leave. Not that day. Not the next. Because something in the silence is louder than all the songs that came before. Because even after the gods turned away, the people stayed. Even after the maze failed. Even after the children vanished. Even after the river forgot its name. They stayed. To tend the flame. To carry the memory. To speak softly so the city wouldn't forget its voice. Section 20. Sleep beneath the stones. By now, the city breathes in whispers. The streets are soft with moss. The temples are quiet, but warm in the sun. The stone faces, the ones carved into walls and stairs and altars, have faded. Their features blurred not by rain, but by time choosing to move on. And beneath it all, the city sleeps. You walk the oldest path, the one that winds past the steely fields where kings once etched their victories into stone. The glyphs are faint now. Some are chipped, others swallowed by tree roots. One stela lies fallen, split in two. On its back, someone has scratched a single word, still. The burial chambers are cool and dry. You descend into one carrying a small bowl of herbs. You don't know whose tomb it is, the name glyph is gone, but you leave the bowl anyway. A whisper of smoke rises and lingers, like a question no one will answer. Above ground, a boy sleeps on the steps of a shrine, arms tucked beneath his head. A woven mat covers his legs. A dog lies beside him, both of them rising and falling in perfect rhythm. You step around them carefully, not wanting to wake them. Some say the dead outnumber the living now, but it's hard to tell. Everyone moves slower. Everyone speaks softer. Some simply lie down and don't get up again. Not with grief, not with fear, just with a kind of settling like dust or memory. A woman tells you she's building her own grave, not out of sadness, out of preparation. When the gods come back, she says, I want them to find me at peace. You sit beside her as she smooths clay into the shape of a sleeping serpent. She hums an old lullaby. You recognize the melody, but the words are gone. In the plaza, the last drum hangs from a broken frame. No one plays it, but the wind knocks against it sometimes. A hollow sound, almost a heartbeat. You lie down beneath a crumbling wall and close your eyes. The stone is warm from the day's sun. You feel it in your back, your arms, your spine. You imagine yourself sinking into it, becoming part of the city. Not as a ghost, not as a name, just as something that stayed. The breeze moves through the trees. Leaves flicker like breath. Somewhere, a bird calls once, then falls silent. You begin to hear things, not voices. Moments. Footsteps over gravel. A child laughing. The scrape of paintbrush on stone. A clay pot being filled with water. The sound of maize being ground. Of names being spoken in the dark. You remember, and the remembering is enough. You turn your head and look up at the sky. Stars begin to appear, one by one. No longer bright, but still burning. And as you drift, you feel the city settle with you. Not gone, not destroyed, just sleeping. Beneath the stones, beneath the roots, beneath the silence. And you think maybe someday someone will wake it. Maybe not, but either way, it dreamed beautifully. And now, dear friend, the night has deepened. The stars have taken their places in the sky, and Copán, once bright with drums and dancers, sleeps beneath layers of earth-vine memory and wind. You've walked its plazas, touched its silent stones, felt the warmth of rituals long forgotten and the quiet sorrow of people who never truly left. The jungle may cover its walls, the rivers may forget their paths, but stories, especially whispered at night, carry farther than even the loudest temple bells. So as you lie there, eyes soft, breath slow, know that the echoes you've heard tonight still hum through the roots and ruins. They are not lost, they are resting, just like you are now. If you enjoyed this slow journey into the fading heartbeat of a forgotten world, I'd be grateful if you liked the video, subscribed, or shared it with a friend who dreams in history too. And if you're still awake, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? Is the moon high in your sky, or just beginning to rise? But for now, let go. Let your thoughts drift gently, like incense rising into the canopy. Feel the weight of stone beneath your back, softened by time. Let the memories of kings, priests, and quiet scribes settle around you like a blanket. Sleep well tonight, dream gently, and may tomorrow greet you with a little more light, a little more rain, and a world that remembers. Good night, and I'll see you in the next story.